We would like to read out the audience ground rules. First of all, before the beginning of the proceedings, we would like to be reminded there that the law provides for public trial, meaning that the court is open to everybody, including the media. The media houses are required not to conduct themselves only in accordance with the national laws. For instance, the Constitution, Media Authority Act, National Communication Act, Access to Information Act, Penal Code Act, National Security Act, and any other relevant laws in coverage and reporting, but also in accordance with the international law.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
A very good afternoon. This is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. The defense team representing Riek Machar and several senior opposition officials has formally objected to the establishment of the special court overseeing the trial, called the prosecution team describes as baseless and unfounded. The judge of the special court for South Sudan has postponed the trial of Dr. Riek Machar until tomorrow after the defense team requested a written response to its objection to the special court. And security forces this morning arrested service-style civil society activist and freelance journalist George Road at Customs Market in Juba. Our radio has learned. These are stories and more coming to you in our news bulletin with me, Wol Mapal. Now the news in detail. The defense team representing Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and several senior opposition officials has formally objected to the establishment of the special court overseeing the trial, called the prosecution team describes as baseless and unfounded. Ellen Samuel files more on this story.
Lawyer Dr. Gary Raimondo Lege argued that the court lacks both jurisdiction and competence to try the first vice president under the transitional constitution and the revitalized peace agreement. Gary says Dr. Riek Machar, as first vice president under Article 103 of the transitional constitution, should not be tried by this court, which lacks jurisdiction. Dr. Lege stated that the first vice president is governed by the revitalized peace agreement, which stipulates that removal from office can only occur through impeachment by a 2/3 majority vote of the national legislature.
We have an objection for establishment of this honorable special court by His Lordship, the President of the Supreme Court of the Republic of South Sudan, Honorable Justice Dr. Benjamin Bagding, to constitute this special court for the following grounds. His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar is governed of Article 103, Transitional Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan. The first Vice President of the Republic should not be tried by this incompetent court, which lacks jurisdiction. Your Lordship, this court is not for people like His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar, who is governed by the revitalized agreement. Impeachment of His Excellency is supposed to be passing a resolution by 2/3 member majority of the national legislature.
The defense petitioned the court to declare the special court null and void, citing Article 104 of the Transitional Constitution and Regulations 62 and 63 of the National Legislature's Conduct of Business 2013 as amended in 2021. The defense orders the immediate release and discharge of Dr. Riek Machar and other accused officials. The objection has been formally entered into the court record. Judges are expected to deliberate before determining whether the trial will proceed under the special court arrangement.
Respectively pray this Honorable Special Court to order in their favor as follows. Order this Special Court lacks of jurisdiction and competence to try this matter, and therefore null and void ab initio pursuant to the absence of fulfillment of the requirements stipulated in the provision of Article 104, Clause 2 of the Transitional Constitution, read together with the provision of Regulation 62 and 63 of the Transitional National Legislature Assembly Conduct of Business 2013 as amended 2021. Number 2, order the immediate discharge, release, and go home of His Excellency Dr. Riek Machar and his brothers from this court, and let them go home.
In response, the government prosecution team described the defense team's argument as weak and unsubstantiated, citing the structure and hierarchy of the judiciary, which empowers the judiciary to constitute other courts and tribunals in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and other laws. Advocate Ajon Noel Ohisa is a member of the prosecution team.
The structure and hierarchy of a judiciary, it empowers that there shall be established other courts and tribunals as deemed necessary to be established in accordance with the provision of the Constitution and other law. This provision of the Constitution is reiterated, my Lord Justices, in Section 7F of the Judiciary Act 2008. As to the rules that shall apply to such other court as shall be established, my Lord Justices, Section 9 of the Judiciary Act provides for the same. In terms of paneling of these special courts, my Lord Justice, of the Transitional Constitution 2011 as amended, provides for paneling of special courts. That in case of criminal or civil matters, there shall be panels of 3, and when they sit as a constitutional panel, there shall be at least 9 justices, where the Chief Justice shall be presiding.
He went on to outline the indictment drawn from Chapter 5 and 6 of the Penal Code Act related to offences against the state and the armed forces, making the special court legally mandated to hear the case.
It is based on this narrative and sequence of law, as we might have seen in the charge sheet, the offences with which the accused persons are charged are all under Chapter 5 and 6 of the Penal Code Act, which are offences relating to offences against South Sudan, as well as offences relating to the armed forces of the Republic of South Sudan. The arguments that this court lacks competence, my Lord, this argument is weak and lacks substance. The members of this special court are all justices of the Supreme Court, and therefore competent to entertain the matter by virtue of the laws as stated. Even if the powers given are powers of the High Court has unlimited jurisdiction.
Judges of the special court are now expected to deliberate on defense objection before deciding whether the trial will proceed. For iRadio, Helen Samuel reporting.
Meanwhile, the judge of the special court has postponed the trial of Dr. Riek Machar until tomorrow after the defense team requested a written response to its objection to the establishment of a special court, with the prosecution describing it as baseless and unfounded. This came after the defense team representing Dr. Riek Machar objected to the establishment of the special court overseeing the trial. Lead defense lawyer Dr. Gary Raimondo Legi argued that the court lacks both jurisdiction and competence to try the first vice president under the transitional constitution and the revitalized peace agreement. Dr. Lege says Dr. Riek Machar, as first vice president under Article 103 of the transitional constitution, should not be tried by this court, which lacks jurisdiction. He stated that the position of first vice president is governed by the revitalized peace agreement, which stipulates that removal from office can only occur through impeachment by a 2/3 majority vote of the national legislature. The defense team called for the immediate release and discharge of Dr. Riek Machar and the other accused officials. The Judge James Halala had adjourned the court until tomorrow at 9 a.m.
The session is going to be adjourned for tomorrow, the same time. Please, for Jalsa. You must submit full reply, please, tomorrow morning.
A civil society activist has called on the Minister of Justice to grant private and non-state media full access to the ongoing trial of Dr. Riek Machar and several senior SPLMI officials. The appeal comes after reports that independent media outlets were denied entry to the court proceedings at Freedom Hall. Edmund Yakani, Executive Director of the Community Empowerment for Progress organization, made the call while speaking to iRadio on Monday, September 22, stating that all public institutions had previously announced the trial would be open to the media and public. Yakani said the only state-run South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation has been granted access. Other national and independent media houses were told to seek prior approval from the Minister of Information.
I would like to take this opportunity to bring to the attention of the leadership of the country, in particular Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs and the judiciary, that pronounced the trial of the suspended His Excellency First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar, the chairperson of SPLM-IO, and some of his members who are accused of being in conflict with the law. The trial is starting today in Juba in Freedom Hall, and all institutions of the public, being in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Judiciary, Media Authority, say the court is open for public access. It is a transparent trial. It's a trial that citizens can access and media can access responsibly to observe and cover, and so the credibility and the independence of the court to the public in terms of watchdog that ensure the process have observed due legal process.
The trial of Dr. Machar and other opposition leaders, including Minister of Petroleum Port Kang Chol, began today. Dr. Machar was suspended from his duties last week after the Minister of Justice filed multiple charges against him. The defendants face charges including murder, high treason and crimes against humanity stemming from violent clashes in Nasir County, Upper Nile State in March. Yakani warned that these limitations impede transparency and risk undermining the perceived independence and credibility of the judiciary. He called on the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to ensure that all media and civil society observers are granted access, reinforcing a fair and transparent trial process.
The experience we're getting this morning that I would like to bring to the attention of the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs and the Judiciary and to Media Authority and other public institutions like the Ministry of Information is that already a denial of media houses is being observed. It's only SSBC that have been allowed to go and observe. The other media houses, being national, independent, or media houses are not the state media houses, who are told to go to the Ministry of Information to access approval for access to the court. And we see this as a beginning of impediment in making the transparency of the trial. And also, this is trying to send a signal that independence and the credibility of the judiciary. I'm appealing to the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to engage with other state agencies to allow that the access of private media or non-state media and other observers from civil society, from other actors, is allowed to access the court, because that provides transparency.
Meanwhile, the presiding judge in the trial of suspended First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar has announced that the court is open to the public, including the media, citing the constitution and relevant laws of the country. Judge James Halalai's remarks at the opening of the trial proceedings came amid concerns raised by the Union of Journalists of South Sudan, which condemned the denial of access to journalists earlier today. The union stated that such actions undermine the principles of open justice and press freedom. According to UJOS, its members who arrived to cover the commencement of the trial of Dr. Riek Machar and his co-accused were denied entry into the court premises. The union described the move as a direct violation of press freedom, as enshrined in Articles 24 and 32 of the Transitional Constitution of South Sudan 2011 as amended. Meanwhile, presiding Judge James Halala during the opening of the trial asserted that the court was open to everybody, including the media.
We would like to read out the audience ground rules. First of all, before the beginning of the proceedings, we would like to be reminded there that the law provides for public trial, meaning that the court is open to everybody, including the media. The media houses are required not to conduct themselves only in accordance with the national laws. For instance, the Constitution, Media Authority Act, National Communication Act, Access to Information Act, Penal Code Act, National Security Act, and any other relevant laws in coverage and reporting, but also in accordance with the international law.
You're listening to iRadio News. Security forces this morning arrested self-styled civil society activist and freelance journalist George Road at Customs Market in Juba, iRadio has learned. Witnesses said he was taken away in a police vehicle after being accused of taking photographs of security personnel deployed along the roads leading to Freedom Hall, where the trial of the suspended first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and other SPLMIO leaders this morning. An iRadio journalist who was on the scene said the incident happened as security officers were checking vehicles heading to the court venue. He reported seeing George approach their car, which was carrying other people at that time, before he was seized by the forces and placed in a Land Cruiser. The security personnel claimed George had been taking pictures of the deployment around customs. It is known where he has been taken to, although he is believed to have been taken to one of the police stations in Juba. When contacted by iRadio, this police spokesperson says he is unaware of any arrest of activist George Road. Major General James Monday explained that security forces had been deployed along the roads leading to Freedom Hall to provide security during the trial.
We were talking with them when there is an occasion like this, which is sensitive. They have to go to accreditation. There are those people there who are concerned to give them the exit to such a place until the what is called National Authority Commission. They have woman but I can't imagine woman very many 2 days meeting in them. But it's not good. But they go there, they given the tag, the woman tag.
He advised all journalists and civil society activists to adhere to security measures and abide by it. General Monday added that the forces were tasked with checking and verifying the accreditation and IDs of those wishing to enter Freedom Hall. Earlier this morning, the Special Court President, James Halala, announced that the trial of the first Vice President and other defendants is open to the public and journalists are entitled to cover the sessions. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs had previously announced that the trial sessions were open to the media and the public. The whereabouts of George Road remain unclear, though it's believed he was taken to one of the police stations in Juba. And finally, several students at the University of Juba told iRadio that their exams scheduled for today were cancelled amid heavy security deployment during the court trial of Dr. Riek Machar and other SPLMIO leaders. The students said they were told to return home by the university administration without further explanation, but they believe the decision was linked to the highly anticipated trial at Freedom Hall in Juba. Speaking to iRadio this morning, a young Marielle, a medical laboratory student at the University of Juba, said she was shocked when the dean announced that exams would not take place. Ayag expressed her disappointment, saying she had prepared the whole night only to be sent home.
It actually came as a shock to us because we were not expecting that. We were not prepared for that. We only got surprised this morning to find that all the roads were blocked. It took us like 30 minutes to find our way to the university, and after finally making it to the university, we were shocked that even our lecturers could not make it. Some of them were blocked very far away. Some of them were blocked that side of the Western campus. Even if you're footing, you're not allowed to come from Western campus or main campus or from main campus to Western campus. So it wasn't something that we assessing.
She blamed the government for continued disruption of university activities and urged authorities to respect academic schedules. Ayag also called on the government to use alternative venues for its events rather than Freedom Hall to avoid interfering with the university.
I don't know why the government decided to block the road so much, and I really don't know why Freedom Hall has to become a courthouse when we have a courthouse in the country. So I was asking if at least they could be more good with the citizens. At least they should consider our feelings, and they should at least minimize on disrupting our daily activities. This is not the first time this thing is happening. Mostly, whenever there is something in Freedom Hall, they block all the roads. We suffer trying to get our way around, trying to perform our daily activities. So I was suggesting the government at least has to be more, think of other ways at least of trying to improve this, because it's really very challenging.
Another student, Hagangyang Aye, a fourth-year journalism student, said the disruption of exams undermines the education sector in the country. He called on the Minister of Higher Education to ensure proper communication with the university to avoid such last-minute interruptions.
My message to this is just it's going to be direct to the government, especially the Minister of Higher Education, that is in charge of the university. Actually, as I said earlier, education for this country to move on forward in future, to be one of the best countries across East Africa, we need to fight illiteracy. And through that, this is where we prioritize education. The government is supposed to know that education is one of the most important tools that we need to fight all the nepotism, the tribalisms, and all kind of corruption in this country. And undermining education is not fair. It's not good. Most of the students now, they were having the plans of what to do for exam, but now the exam is postponed. So I recommend next time when they are considering that, they need to do higher education and postpone so that it does not affect the schedules of the schools and also for the students.
According to media reports, security forces this morning closed several roads, including the Ministries Road, Custom Konya Road, and Beijing Buluk Road, ahead of the trial of Dr. Riek Machar and his co-accused officials. The university administration has not issued any official statement on the exam cancellations at the time of broadcast. You are listening to iRadio News. Now to the regional international stories brought to you by Prestige Millers Company Limited. Here is Madrama James.
Foreign Secretary Vetu Kopa says she has warned Israel not to annex parts of the West Bank in retaliation for the UK's recognition of Palestinian statehood. Comes as France is expected to join the UK, Canada and Australia in recognizing a Palestinian statehood today. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says it gives a huge reward to terrorism. Elsewhere, thousands have been evacuated in the Palestinian as a super tycoon described by regional authority as a potential catastrophic makes a landfall in the country's northern region. Super tycoon Ragaza, packing 230 kilometers wind gas, is expected to barrel west towards southern China. Ragaza brings a high risk of life-threatening storm surge with pack heightens exceeding 3 meters 10 feet, the Philippine Weather Bureau said. Australian officials have promised telecommunication giant Open2 will face significant consequences of a system outlet linked to multiple deaths. The incident last week left hundreds of people across more than half of the countries unable to call emergency services for 13 hours. Open2, one of the country's two major providers, says at least 3 people died as a result, and its chief executive has apologized to their families and the public for the completely unacceptable failure.
You are listening to iRadio News. Up next is the sports with Darlington Moses.
Thank you so much, Wol Mapal. And now in the world of sport, Jammus FC Juba put on a spirited performance to hold Sudanese giants Al Hilal Omdurman to a goalless draw in a thrilling encounter at Juba National Stadium yesterday. The match was marked by end-to-end actions, with both sides creating clear chances but failing to find the back of the net. Jammus, backed by home supporters, showed resilience in defense and threatened on the counter-attack, while Al Hilal's forwards were frustrated by a determined backline and an impressive display from the Jammus goalkeeper. The results leaves both teams sharing the point, with Jammus earning respect for holding one of the region's strongest sides in tightly contested class. Botswana has declared a public holiday to celebrate the country's victory in the men's 4x400 meters at the World Athletics Champions in Tokyo, the first African nation to win the event. President Duma Boko hailed the gold medal as a historic African win in an online address, praising the team for their performance. Kylian Mbappe was once again Real Madrid's match winner on Tuesday, converting 2 penalties against Marseille in the Champions League to take his tally to 50 goals for the club. He reached the milestone in 64 appearances, the fewest for Real Madrid since Cristiano Ronaldo, who did so in only 54 games following his move from Manchester United in 2009. Former Real Madrid striker Karim Benzema took 106 games, while Mbappe's teammate Vinicius Jr. needed 200 games. Lorenzo Pellegrini fired Roma into the Serie A top 4 as Lazio had 2 players sent off in a very derby. The midfielder found the bottom corner in the 38th minute as Roma extended their unbeaten run to 4 games against their city rivals. Lazio have lost 3 of their opening games of the season and had Beda Labone and former Arsenal midfielder Matteo Ganduzzi dismissed in late drama. This is all in the world of sport, and back to you, Wol Mapal.
Thank you, Darlington Moses, for the sports updates. You are listening to iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here is a quick recap once again. The defense team representing Riek Machar and several senior opposition officials has formally objected to the establishment of the special court overseeing the trial, a call the prosecution team describes as baseless and unfounded. The judge of the special court for South Sudan has postponed the trial of Dr. Riek Machar until tomorrow after the defense team requested a written response to its objection to the special court. And finally, security forces this morning arrested service-styled civil society activist and freelance journalist George Rotas Customs Market in Juba, iRadio has learned. That is the end of iRadio News. If there is a story or an event you would like iRadio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page. iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at 1/2 past the hour. I am Wol Mapal. Thanks for listening.